Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Matthew, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, buddy? Good to be with you.
So let's dive right into it. Chief Justice Roberts, the snakety snake, right? We thought this is a conservative guy. He's good. But now we find out, what's the judge's name? Eisen? Yeah, Judge something Eisen. He's a federal judge who has actually bragged about that his expertise is in toppling governments, color revolutions like they call it. And Chief Justice Roberts taught him how to do that. And Eisen also is the guy who went after General Flynn, Alex Jones, and the judges that were attacking Trump and trying to get him off the ballot leading up to the election. Eisen taught them how to do that. And he just did a podcast praising Justice Roberts and saying they're good friends, and Justice Roberts sees the world the same way he does. And Alex Jones covered this. I mean, this is a huge story this morning.
Yeah, well, what we're learning, and yeah, it's these judges have this incestuous relationship. There's a lot more connections. Like, I always tell people, just on a side note, Ben Shapiro owes he owes his whole career to
Who?
Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Warren was the one that got him into Pocahontas, got him into Harvard Law School. So it just shows you that all these people who you think are complete polar opposites, or, Roberts is on Trump's side. Roberts ain't on Trump's side, right? No one's on Trump's side. And we have to clean out this judicial system. And what do we know about Roberts? We said on your show before, he's the one that signed off on the illegal FISA warrants to spy on Trump in 2016. So, of course, they went to Roberts. And then Roberts, if you look into, it's a great story. We don't have to talk about it now, but look into his adopted kids and what that whole thing was about.
Yeah.
This gets into a whole cultish mindset where they all progress based on the blackmail that they're able to get on them.
And it's very interesting because, like, there's, again, never totally put your trust in any human completely, not even Trump completely, right? You can do 99, but never fully, because people at the end of the day are people. But even like Laura Loomer goes in to see Trump 2 days ago. Yesterday, Trump fires like 3 people. This Chin Wong, the dude. So how is this possible? That one of Trump's intelligence guys that was on his staff, his wife, the dude's last name was Wong. His wife used to work for Obama. She worked for Biden. She was in Biden's DOJ prosecuting January 6ers, and then her husband works for the Trump administration until Laura Loomer exposes him.
Yeah, and I've even heard not so great things about Laura Loomer. I mean, we'll see about Laura, because I mean, she's done fantastic work. I mean, she was actually, if you remember, she was actually the one that got Avenatti exposed.
Yep.
Michael Avenatti. She and there was some guy that was working with her at the time. I forget who the guy was. It's like a very young guy. He kind of fell off the map. I haven't seen him anywhere. But they were the ones that were responsible for getting Michael Avenatti essentially arrested for all the criminality he was involved in. So we'll see about Laura Loomer. I've heard, I've looked, tinfoil hat time. I've heard that she's a dude. I don't know, but I just, I look at these actions where she's meeting with Trump. She clearly had some influence in getting some corrupt people fired. I give her all the credit in the world. I know people complain about a lot of these, Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk got, Trump 4 million votes in the election. So yeah, I loved. What can you say bad?
Charlie.
So I try to be careful with some of the things I hear about these people from even, the most patriots of patriots.
Well, and a very interesting fact I very recently came to the conclusion is usually people that attack, like people like Laura Loomer or Charlie Kirk, people that are close to Trump, they've never even seen Trump in person.
Right.
Many of them. Supposedly they have. Supposedly they spend the night at Mar-a-Lago all the time, but can I get a selfie?
Yeah. Exactly.
We got selfies from Mar-a-Lago, but no, I love what Laura Loomer is doing. She actually took this story, right? She's the one who broke it originally about, who is talking about Signal. And then she started calling Trump's cell phone, blowing it up until he finally called her back and said, Mr. President, I got to bring you this evidence. Comes in, sees him. And here's how I know she did a great job. Because the very next day, which was yesterday, MSNBC and CNN have been attacking her nonstop. They're attacking Laura Loomer nonstop. Stop. It is. That's how you know
Always a
she
good,
did a great
always a
job.
good sign. Yeah, always a good sign. That's when you know you're over the target.
Now, let's shift topics for the sake of time. Tariffs. The tariffs are here. Stock markets reacting bad. IRAs, 401ks, you see the reaction. Now, this is short term pain for long term gain. But right now, what is kind of happening? You see what's happening with gold, silver, gas prices. They plummeted today, but you see the stock market is also plummeting. IRAs for all that stuff. So what's going on there?
Well, I think it's going to be temporary. We saw gold and silver prices. I mean, gold yesterday was about 31.50 an ounce, 3,150 on that spot price. Silver was hitting close to 35. I think you'll see the precious metals prices push a lot higher because what's going to happen is we are going to go through some pain. But what the liberal media wants you to believe is that, we can't go through this pain. It's like, no, we're going to get through this painful period where, sure, we might see some, higher prices. We might see maybe certain products less available. I wouldn't even say totally unavailable. But overall, where we're headed for is we're getting what Trump's really doing is he's getting all this industry back to the United States. So, of course, what can these foreign companies do is they can avoid tariffs by building in the USA and employing American workers, right? I think it's going to take probably at least 2 years for that to happen. So what I would look at gold and silver at a time like this, where things are going to be there's going to be a lot of uncertainty. There's going to be a lot of back and forthing because it's like, Trump's going to set up a deal with, let's say a certain country. And that country's deep state is going to try to create as much pain so that they can get as much media coverage of, oh, it's not working. They're going to try to say everything. Oh, it's not working. It's not working. And for a time, a lot of people out there are going to be fooled. They're going to be like, oh, maybe it's not working. Eggs went back to, now they're $15 a dozen. Yeah, that might go on for a couple months, but you know what? It's about where we end up. So I think what gold and silver really represent during this time is it's a great bridge. I think prices are going to get a lot higher, but it's a great bridge to get out of the system because also keep in mind, Vlad, is during this time, what does Trump talk a lot about? He talks about currency manipulation.
Yep.
Right. Gold is actually priced in dollars. All right. So these currencies, we might devalue our currency massively just by using the natural. It's already devalued, right? The dollar index. It's kind of interesting dynamic because the dollar index is going to show, oh yeah, the dollar is strong because it's being compared to these other crummy world, other garbage world currencies, right? Maybe what Trump will do is he'll admit what the real dollar is worth. Maybe it's 30 cents on the dollar. Maybe that pushes gold up to 10,000. So if you're going through this period of time with gold in your pocket, maybe your gold's worth 5 or 10,000 an ounce at a certain point, whereas your dollar's only worth 30 cents on the dollar as it is right now. Right. So it's almost like these changing goalposts. So that's why I say this is such a great time to get yourself a position in the precious metals. Yeah, maybe you leave a little bit in the market. Maybe maybe there's some stuff you really like in there. But I would say certainly for IRAs, 401ks, solidify those, get those into the precious metals. You see nothing yet. People think gold price passing 3,000. Oh, I missed the boat. It's like, no, gold prices are going to go way the heck higher. At least I think so. That's my belief. So again, it's a bridge from what we're doing in this broken system that we're never going back to the new vision that Trump has for the United States, which is going to be glorious.
I remember, not to mention names, but somebody called us before the election and they were going to do like a $250,000 IRA. And then Trump won. And then they backed out because they're like, I'm putting it back in the market.
A lot of people thought, yeah, everything.
If they would have done that, they would have made
they would have
like
they would be
almost $100,000 within these 4 months because of what?
I would say closer to maybe 30 or 40, but still a huge gain. Still a huge gain.
On 250, and back then it was like 2,400 an ounce.
But I look at it like this: is that even with it, because we've had several individuals. When Trump gets back into office, a lot of people expected, hey, stock market's going to boom again, etc. No, what's happening this time? The difference between this term and Trump's first term is that this is a term where what's he doing? He's actually going after him. Right. He's actually investigating them. It's out there for all to see. Now's the term where things are really going to change. And with those changes come, as we were just discussing, pain. There's going to be a lot of pain that's associated with this. So it's up to us to be strong to get through this period of time. Even if you're not in gold and silver, just realize the grass is greener on the other side of this. It's just, if you want to protect your money and you want to keep the value of your dollars, gold and silver are probably one of the best places, probably the best place to do it, and probably even better than the cryptocurrencies. Because I think a lot of these cryptocurrencies are going to get destroyed in this process. We're going to see who the real ones are, who who are not the real ones, right? A lot of people talk about, Bitcoin. We have our theory on Bitcoin. Was Bitcoin an invention of DARPA? Was it something that, I'm skeptical of it, and I own it because, who's Satoshi Nakamoto, some Japanese guy that no one's ever heard of. It's like, at least gold and silver, you're going to get consensus on what is money. Money is an agreement between people that, okay, this has value, right? Gold and silver, if the banks go down during this period of time, which I think you're going to see, we're just talking about trade deals. We can see a lot of problems that happened in the banks as well during the same, right? It's not just trade deals that are happening this time. You got to think about, what's the banking system doing? What's happening with some of these major banks that have different exposures in these different markets? I think they're going to have a lot of problems. So the next problem is that how safe is your money in these financial institutions, right? And that's the beauty of gold and silver, is it gets you out of the dollar, it gets you out of the markets, and it physically removes you from the very banks that are holding your money. You can hold that money yourself, right? Or put it in a depository, right? We can obviously discuss that. If you want to give me a call, I have all kinds of options in that area, even if you don't have an IRA. But there's going to be a lot of moving parts of this. And I don't want people to think it's just trade deals. The trade deals are going to trickle down to the banks, to all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. No, it's going to get crazy, but it's going to be better on the other side.
It will be.
And this is why the media is attacking it. They want people that are stressed. They want people to freak out. But no, we're going to do
well.
Good.
What happened was that in the 70s and the 80s, the United States, and understandably, they said, hey, why don't we farm out these goods to other countries? Yeah. And because of cheap labor, and we can bring those goods back in much more inexpensively. That'll be good for Americans. Sure, that was good for a period of time, but they took it too far.
Yep.
They just took it too far, where they just sold us completely out, where they left us where if you're not producing steel, that's a national security issue. You know what I mean? The only reason why we won World War II is because we had great steel production, right?
Well, we came in at the last minute when the Soviets lost 30 million.
Fair enough. But you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
Right. So the idea is that what Trump understands is that we have to bring this industry back in, and we're going to do it. It's just, watch your back, watch your money during this time, and give me a call if that's something you want to discuss.
And the number's right there, and mention the show. He'll hook you up. But you kind of mentioned World War II, and I've been looking into this. So World War II, 6 million Jews were killed by Hitler. Horrible, right? And there are memorials like there should be. But when the Germans invaded the Soviet Union, they looked at the Slavics as subhuman. About 28 million Slavics died in World War II. Over 20 million were civilians. They burned them, they smoked them,
and no one talks about it.
No memorial. We don't get our those people don't get their laws. You can't say anything about them because of a past. Or you look at the Uganda massacre in the early 90s.
The communists were arguably worse than the fascists.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, history is going to be interesting when it's retold.
Yep. Like we just found out, Hitler lived for 20 more years, and
I heard he died in 1989. That's what I heard.
Well, our Argentinian president declassified.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, and he lived till the mid-60s.
To the mid-60s.
He lived 20 more years. He fathered 2 more daughters in Argentina. I know a cousin of mine lives in a village in Argentina. He actually says, and he just moved there a couple of years ago, he said, there are towns in Argentina. He's like, it's like 1940s Germany. Swastikas everywhere. They worship Hitler because these are the grandkids of the Nazi generals.
Were one of those daughters Angela Merkel?
I don't know, maybe. Let's find out. Let's shoot her an email. Ladies and gentlemen, subscribe. Give them a call. We're out.